It must have been tough to be an employee at Boss Game Studios in 1997. You see, after they thrilled many gamers with their debut N64 title Top Gear Rally, they announced that they were working on a brand new title, Twisted Edge Snowboarding, which was to be the console's very first snowboarding simulation game. The problem was that shortly after Nintendo announced that, not only had they been working on a new IP, and it was a snowboarding game, but they were also in fact nearly finished with the development of the title and were in fact prepping for the release of it. 1080 Snowboarding was coming and Nintendo had high hopes for it. Realising that going head to head with Nintendo and releasing their own snowboarding simulation around the same time would leave only one winner, the tough decision was made to delay the game for 4 months and work would continue on it to make sure it was as polished as possible. Then 1080 Snowboarding landed, and it was critically praised by journalists and gamers for its realistic physics, impressive graphics, and great gameplay content. Boss Studios realised that Twisted Edge Snowboarding was the inferior title, and so again delayed the game's release by another 4 months to continue development of it. The game was finally released in late 1998 in North America and Japan, with a PAL release in early 1999. The game contains 7 different courses, each containing multiple routes for you to explore to reach the finish line. There are 9 different riders and 20 boards to choose from, and more than 30 moves for each character, so you could be forgiven for thinking that on paper they did everything possible to outshine 1080. But select any of the 4 game modes, which include competition, stunt, practice or head to head, and you'll quickly realise that 1080 destroys Twisted Edge Snowboarding in almost every aspect. Within moments you'll realise that the physics contained in this game are almost laughable at times. The speed at which the game runs is all over the place. At times you can get a great sense of speed, and at other moments you're sliding along at a snail's pace, often for no reason at all. The frame rate is so unstable that it takes away any sense of speed, and it makes cornering and jumps nearly impossible. This may be due to the fact that in Twisted Edge you actually play against 3 other riders at the same time, whereas 1080 it was just head-to-head races. Seeing why 1080 chose to do this should have made Boss Game Studios realise that having 3 other riders was causing the game serious struggles, and so the decision not to cut the game back in this area was perhaps its biggest mistake. The second biggest mistake, and also one of its saving graces, is its trick mechanics. The standard selection of snowboarding tricks are all available to pull off with reasonable ease. When you rack up combos you get a slight speed boost on landing, and so unlike 1080 where you often feel that you need to either race or be a trick boarder, Twisted Edge Snowboarding forces you to master both in order to win. This is where things take a turn for the worse though, because if you crash or make a mess of the tricks and land poorly, you'll lose all momentum that you had. Trying to regain this lost speed is near impossible, and countless times I had near flawless runs only to clip the edge of a track on the last turn, and suddenly I found that all the other boarders sped past me. The course designs themselves are not bad, they tend to stick to the more realistic style, and so the majority of the tracks are naturally snow covered, but there are odd flashes in the same vein as 1080 where you have pipes, caves and other obstacles to overcome. With multiple routes to take, it does add some longevity, and I actually quite like trying to follow the different borders in order to find new routes that they were taking. Visually however, the game really lets itself down. Imagine playing 1080 with all the effects, visual subtleties and detail taken away. That's what playing Twisted Edge Snowboarding is like. One good to come of this is that it will make you play 1080 with a whole new appreciation of just how detailed it was. Twisted Edge often fills the screen with nothing more than different shades of white, and so much so that without small details like particles coming off the back of your board, it can even make this game become disorientating. With the music in Top Gear Rally in my opinion being quite bland, I was pleasantly surprised to hear that Twisted Edge Snowboarding actually sounds pretty damn good. Aside from the crisp effects and clear announcer voice samples, the actual music was refreshing. Again, it's quite high quality and the bass heavy soundtrack really works in the game. It would have created a great sense of adrenaline as it blasts out with you going down the mountain if the actual game speed hadn't been so slow. It's a shame because the studio wasted so much good music in the game, which is really so mediocre, but if anything it's one of the game's few saving graces. Twisted Edge Snowboarding really is a strange one. If it had have come out on time, and the studio hadn't been shook up by Nintendo's announcement, it would have actually sold quite well I think, and perhaps would have felt more of an impressive game. However, in the post 1080 era, It feels like a poor man's version, and funnily enough, that's often what this game quickly ended up becoming, as it filled up bargain bins across the world. I remember this chap who worked in my local game store telling me it was just like 1080, and so that's how I picked it up, as he knew that I was a big fan of 1080. So no surprises then when the very next day he let me return the game, no questions asked, and it was never brought up again. But as always, it's over to you. Did you play this before or after 1080 snowboarding? If you played both, I'd love to know what your thoughts and comparisons between the two of them are. With 4 other snowboarding games on the console, where would you rank this title? Let me know your thoughts and feelings in the comment section down below, and until next time.